Welcome to Lost at 3 a.m. Put your phone down, close your eyes, and let this be the last video you hear tonight. Relax, breathe, and let's begin. Once upon a time, there was a world where you weren't just a player, you were a penguin. A world of snowy landscapes, hidden secrets, and a never-ending supply of mini-games, parties, and absolute chaos. This was Club Penguin, a simple online game that became a defining part of childhood for an entire generation. It wasn't just a place to waddle around. It was a community, a social space, and sometimes even a battleground for snowball fights. Whether you were hanging out at the coffee shop, flexing your rare Puffles, or trying to tip the Iceberg with thousands of other hopeful players, Club Penguin felt alive in a way few online worlds ever have. For over a decade, it was one of the most popular online games on the internet, attracting millions of players from all over the world. It was a place where friendships were formed, legends were created, and, if you weren't careful with your words, a single mistake could get you banned for 24 hours. But behind the fun, there's a fascinating story. How a small flash game experiment turned into a global phenomenon. How Disney bought it for $350 million. And why, despite its success, it was eventually shut down forever. Tonight, we're diving deep into Club Penguin, the history, the mysteries, and the unforgettable moments that made it one of the greatest online games of all time. So get comfortable. Imagine you're back on that icy island, surrounded by thousands of other players, trying to crash the pizza parlor by spamming emotes, and let's begin. Before Club Penguin became one of the most beloved online games of all time, it started as a simple idea, one that almost never happened. The story begins with Lance Priebe, a Canadian game developer who had a fascination with penguins. Why penguins? Because in his mind, penguins were naturally funny. They waddled, they slid on their bellies, and they just looked hilarious doing anything. Back in the early 2000s, Priebe was working at a small game studio when he started experimenting with ideas for a safe, social online game for kids. He wanted to create a virtual world where players could hang out, play games, and interact with each other without all the dangers of traditional online chat rooms. His first attempt, a game called Penguin Chat. It was a simple prototype, basic graphics, a few emotes, and not much else. But it had potential. So he teamed up with Lane Merrifield and Dave Crisco, two other developers who saw the same vision. Together, they spent months building a new, improved version of Penguin Chat, one that had more games, more locations, and a fully fleshed out world for players to explore. They called it Club Penguin. The game launched in October 2005, and within a matter of months, it exploded in popularity. Kids loved the freedom to waddle around, make friends, and play mini-games. Parents loved that it was safe, with strict chat filters and moderators keeping an eye on things. By 2007, Club Penguin was so successful that Disney took notice, and they wanted in. Seeing the game's massive potential, Disney bought Club Penguin for an unbelievable $350 million. Overnight, a small indie game became one of the biggest online worlds on the internet. But despite Disney's involvement, Club Penguin kept its original charm for a while. The world kept expanding, new events and parties were introduced, and millions of players logged in every day to see what was happening on their snowy island. Nobody knew it at the time, but Club Penguin was on its way to becoming an internet legend, one that would be remembered long after the servers shut down. Club Penguin wasn't just a game, it was a world built for exploring, socializing, and creating absolute chaos with thousands of other players. The moment you logged in, you were dropped into a snowy island, free to waddle wherever you pleased. Maybe you'd start in the town, where players crowded outside the coffee shop, showing off their rare outfits and begging for coins. Or maybe you'd head to the plaza, where the pizza parlor was always full of penguins spamming emotes until the server crashed. Every part of Club Penguin felt alive, full of hidden secrets and inside jokes that only the most dedicated players knew. There was the dojo, where you could train to become a ninja and unlock the hidden ninja hideout, a place that only the most elite players could access. Then there was the Iceberg, a place of mystery and frustration. For years, players gathered there, convinced that if enough of them stood in one spot and danced, the iceberg would finally tip over. It became one of the game's greatest myths, debated endlessly in chat rooms and forums. And then, years later, Club Penguin finally confirmed it. It could tip over, but only during a special event. And of course, there was the Secret Agent HQ, a hidden base for players who had completed the PSA spy missions. If you knew, you knew. But what made Club Penguin truly special wasn't just the locations. It was the freedom to make your own fun. Some players formed bands in the nightclub. Others started massive snowball wars in the snow forts. Some just stood in the pizza parlor pretending to work a shift, taking fake orders from other penguins. There was no right way to play Club Penguin, and that's what made it feel so real. Whether you were role-playing, grinding for coins, or just trying to cause chaos, it was a world that felt like yours. And that's why, years later, players still look back on it with nostalgia. Because for a while, Club Penguin wasn't just a game, it was home. For many players, Club Penguin was a fun, free online world where you could waddle around, make friends, and explore. But for others, it was a land of inequality, a world divided. Because in Club Penguin, there were two kinds of players, those with membership and those without. Being a non-member meant living a simple, humble life. You could still explore the world, play mini-games, and hang out with friends. But there was always one painful reminder. You were missing out on the best stuff. No cool clothes, no rare puffles, no fancy igloo decorations. While members flexed in golden Viking helmets and jetpacks, non-members were left with basic blue t-shirts and cardboard boxes for furniture. It was a constant struggle, watching other penguins show off their fully customized igloos while you sat in a near-empty room with one free couch. But for those who did have membership, Club Penguin became a whole different experience. Members had access to rare outfits, exclusive parties, and VIP locations. They could adopt any Puffle they wanted, while non-members could only have the standard red or blue ones, a painful reminder of their second-class status. And then, of course, there were the igloos. A member's igloo could be a massive multi-room mansion with disco floors, statues, and arcade machines. Meanwhile, non-members were left decorating a small, empty igloo that looked like a sad storage shed. For some, this membership divide was frustrating. For others, it became a motivation. Players would grind mini-games for hours just to earn enough coins for the day they could finally afford a membership. Because once you crossed over into the world of members, Club Penguin became a playground with no limits. And Disney knew exactly what they were doing. Club Penguin was one of the first games to perfect the online subscription model for kids, making membership a badge of honor. It wasn't just about unlocking content. It was about being part of an exclusive club. But no matter which side you were on, Club Penguin still found a way to be fun. Whether you were a non-member stuck in a cardboard house or a member riding around in a rainbow Puffle chariot, the game still gave players a world full of memories, friendships, and moments that lasted far beyond the island itself. For many players, Club Penguin wasn't just about exploring or socializing. It was about grinding mini-games for coins. And if you were a non-member, it was a full-time job. The game was packed with legendary mini-games, each one offering a different challenge, a different skill, and a different way to flex your coin balance. One of the most iconic was Kart Surfer, a fast-paced, high-risk, high-reward game where you controlled your penguin riding a minecart, pulling off tricks and flips to rack up points. Everyone knew the best strategy: spam flips and jumps, crash on purpose, and repeat. It wasn't about skill, it was about maximum efficiency. Then there was Sled Racing, the game that ruined friendships. The goal was simple: slide down an icy mountain and beat the other players to the bottom. But one wrong move? You'd wipe out on an ice patch and watch helplessly as your friends zoomed past you. And who could forget Jetpack Adventure? A game that punished greedy players mercilessly. The trick was to collect as many fuel canisters as possible, but if you got too ambitious, your jetpack would cut out mid-air, sending you crashing into the ocean. But one of the most satisfying games was Puffle Roundup, a game that non-members played endlessly just to make enough coins to buy the one thing they could actually afford. Herding Puffles into a pen wasn't thrilling, but it was one of the easiest ways to grind cash. And let's not forget Aqua Grabber, a game that looked calm and peaceful, but in reality, it was pure stress. Moving slowly, carefully collecting treasure, making sure you didn't run out of air, only to get distracted for a second and lose everything. The best part about Club Penguin's minigames wasn't just the coins, it was the flex. Walking into a room wearing a full jetpack outfit or a black belt from Card Jitsu let everyone know you put in the hours. For some players, minigames were a way to grind. For others, they were just a way to have fun. But no matter what, they were a huge part of what made Club Penguin feel like a world where you could always find something new to do. Club Penguin was always fun, but when mascots and special events rolled around, that's when the game felt truly alive. Mascots were legendary figures in the Club Penguin universe. Characters like Rockhopper, Aunt Arctic, Sensei, and Gary the Gadget Guy weren't just NPCs, they were celebrities. If you were lucky enough to spot one waddling around the island, you had to fight through crowds of other players just to click on them and get their exclusive background. But nothing compared to Rockhopper's ship, the Migrator, arriving at the beach. Every so often, Rockhopper, a pirate penguin with a red puffle named Yar, would dock his ship, bringing rare items and hidden stories. The second his ship was visible in the telescope, players flooded the docks, waiting for the chance to step on board. And then there were the seasonal events, which turned Club Penguin into something completely different for a few weeks at a time. The Halloween party was one of the best, turning the entire island dark and spooky, filling it with ghosts, pumpkins, and eerie music. The best part? The haunted house and scavenger hunts, where players searched for hidden items and secretly hoped to get jump-scared by a ghostly Puffle. The music jam was a completely different vibe. Penguins set up bands in the nightclub, dressed in rockstar outfits, and role-played as if they were on a world tour. The stages were packed, the game lagged from the sheer number of players spamming emotes, and somehow, it was still amazing. Then there was April Fool's Day, when Club Penguin went full madness mode. Doors led to random locations, rooms were flipped upside down, and the entire island felt like a cartoon fever dream. And for the elite players, there was Card Jitsu, a hidden ninja training mode found in the dojo. The journey from white belt to black belt was a grind, but those who made it far enough could unlock the secret ninja hideout, a place only the most dedicated penguins could enter. These mascots and events made Club Penguin feel like a real, living world. They weren't just updates, they were moments that players looked forward to for months. Moments that made the game feel bigger, more exciting, and full of endless surprises. And that's why, even years after Club Penguin shut down, players still remember these events like they happened yesterday. Because for a few weeks at a time, it wasn't just a game, it was an experience. For a game designed to be a safe, friendly space for kids, Club Penguin had a surprisingly wild side. Beneath the cheerful igloos and harmless mini-games, there was an underbelly of trolls, hackers, and players who pushed the game's limits just to see how much they could get away with. First, let's talk about the bans, because Club Penguin had some of the funniest and most brutal banning systems ever created. A single wrong word, banned for 24 hours. Trying to type something remotely inappropriate, banned. Even testing the system by saying, "I want to get banned," instant ban. Some players took pride in seeing how quickly they could get kicked off the game, coming up with the most ridiculous reasons to trigger a ban message. Screenshots of penguins saying completely absurd things right before getting banned became internet legends, spreading across forums and meme pages. Then, there were the hackers. Some players didn't just want to waddle around and have a good time, they wanted to break the game. Hacked clients started appearing, letting players walk on restricted areas, spawn rare items, or even take control of entire rooms. Suddenly, penguins were flying across the screen, wearing outfits that weren't even in the game files, or dropping thousands of coins into their accounts with a single click. But Club Penguin wasn't defenseless. The moderators were constantly battling hackers, shutting down accounts left and right. Some of the most infamous players had a cycle of getting banned, making a new account, hacking again, and repeating until they eventually got bored or caught. And then, there were the private servers. After Club Penguin shut down, the community refused to let it die. Fans created private servers, essentially bootleg versions of the game that ran on independent networks. Some were faithful recreations of the original experience, while others, they took things to an entirely different level. Servers like Club Penguin Rewritten gained huge followings, keeping the game alive with new updates, events, and a dedicated player base. But others, they became completely lawless, with no moderators, no filters, and a version of Club Penguin that Disney never would have approved of. In the end, no matter how hard Disney tried to control the chaos, Club Penguin was always more than just a safe kids game. It was a place where players experimented, tested limits, and made their own fun, sometimes in ways that were completely unintended. And honestly, that only made it more legendary. For many Club Penguin players, owning a Puffle wasn't just a fun side activity. It was a status symbol, a personality statement, and sometimes a heartbreaking responsibility. Puffles were small, round, ridiculously cute creatures that came in a variety of colors, each with their own personalities. The first two, red and blue, were available to everyone, but if you were a member, the world of Puffles was yours to explore. Every color meant something. The yellow Puffle was an artist. The purple Puffle loved to dance. The black Puffle had emo energy, always looking unimpressed and skating in the skate park. And then there was the legendary white Puffle, which was so rare and mysterious that when it was first introduced, players lost their minds. Owning Puffles wasn't just about collecting them. It was about taking care of them. You had to feed them, play with them, and keep them happy. Or else, they would run away. And that's where the heartbreak happened. Every Club Penguin player had that one moment. That moment when they logged in and realized they forgot to take care of their Puffle. They checked the Puffle menu, expecting their pets to be happy and bouncy, only to find an empty space where their beloved Puffle used to be. Gone, vanished, abandoned. It was devastating. Some players would sit in the pet shop, staring at the adoption center, hoping their lost Puffle might return. Others would try to get a new one, but it was never quite the same. And then, just when people thought they had seen it all, Club Penguin introduced the Rainbow Puffle, a legendary, multicolored pet that players had been speculating about for years. To get one, you had to complete a series of challenges, and when it finally appeared, it felt like winning the lottery. But the rarest of all, the Golden Puffle. This wasn't just a pet, it was a symbol of ultimate flex. If you had a Golden Puffle, everyone knew you were dedicated to the grind. Puffles weren't just pets in Club Penguin, they were companions, collectibles, and sometimes heartbreaking reminders of responsibility. And whether you kept yours happy and well-fed, or forgot about them and logged into an empty igloo, every player had a Puffle story. Because in the world of Club Penguin, owning a Puffle meant something. For over a decade, Club Penguin was one of the most popular online games in the world. Millions of players logged in every day to chat, play mini-games, and live out their best penguin lives. And then, one day, it was gone. So what happened? How did one of the biggest virtual worlds for kids suddenly come to an end? The decline of Club Penguin didn't happen overnight. It started slowly, and the first warning sign, Flash. Club Penguin was built on Adobe Flash, a technology that, by the late 2010s, was already on its way out. Web browsers stopped supporting it, and game developers had to adapt or shut down. At the same time, gaming trends were changing. Kids weren't flocking to browser-based games anymore. They were playing Minecraft, Fortnite, and mobile games. Compared to these, Club Penguin started to feel old-fashioned. And then there was Disney. After buying Club Penguin for $350 million, Disney had big plans. But over time, they struggled to keep the game growing. They introduced new content, but player numbers kept dropping. Memberships weren't selling like they used to. The game wasn't making enough money to justify keeping it running. So, in 2017, Disney announced that Club Penguin would shut down forever. To replace it, they launched Club Penguin Island, a new, mobile-friendly version of the game. But there was one massive problem. It wasn't Club Penguin. The charm? Gone. The classic rooms? Gone. The mini-games? Gone. Players rejected it almost immediately, and within a year, it flopped so hard that Disney shut it down too. On March 29, 2017, Club Penguin logged off for the final time. The last few minutes were emotional. Thousands of penguins gathered on the Iceberg, sending their final messages, knowing that when they logged out, they could never return. And then, the servers went dark. But while the official game was gone, Club Penguin never truly died. Fans launched private servers, trying to keep the spirit of the game alive. Some were faithful recreations, while others went completely rogue. Disney eventually shut down most of them, but the fact that players fought so hard to bring it back proves just how much Club Penguin meant to people. It wasn't just a game, it was an era. And even though it's gone, the memories, the nostalgia, and the chaotic energy of throwing snowballs at random strangers will never be forgotten. Some online games come and go, but Club Penguin, it became a childhood landmark. For over a decade, it was more than just a game. It was a place where players made friends, pulled pranks, and built their own stories. Whether it was grinding mini-games for coins, hosting igloo parties, or desperately trying to find Rockhopper, Club Penguin felt alive in a way few games ever have. And even though the servers have been shut down, its legacy is still everywhere. Memes, private servers, nostalgic YouTube videos, it refuses to fade away. Because for so many people, Club Penguin wasn't just an online world, it was a part of growing up. It was the game where we learned that not all icebergs can be tipped, that getting banned was sometimes a badge of honor, and that owning a rare Puffle made you an absolute legend. It was a game that somehow balanced wholesome fun with absolute chaos, where you could spend hours just throwing snowballs at random strangers and pretending to work in the pizza parlor. And even though Disney pulled the plug, Club Penguin will never truly be gone. Because as long as people remember the grind of Kart Surfer, the fear of forgetting to feed their Puffle, and the heartbreak of losing a sled race, Club Penguin will always live on. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, just remember, waddle on. Thank you for spending your night with Lost at 3 a.m. Sweet dreams, and we'll see you next time.